this is Martin. I am having some problem with my computer crashing when doing these recordings. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, I think this looks really good. There's just something slightly uneven about it. I think it's something about the way the bounce is going up and down. So let's take a look in Maya and take a look at the graph editor. And the shape of these is kind of odd, so I might try to adjust this. I also don't know why is that just on the, okay. Oh, it's weird because it's like, it doesn't, there's just an extra keyframe there basically. It doesn't need to be there, which I think is confusing, and you can, if you want, clamp those. Whoops. Actually, let's leave it. So I would move these to the middle more, and let's flatten the tangents. What setting do I have on that's sort of ghosting those? I can't remember. Anyway. Oh yeah, look at that. That's kind of a bit much. See how that's a little bit more of a natural shape? I think it's these that are, yeah, these are just so big there. Yeah, you can get those kind of even out. And that sort of continues on beyond. But let's leave that for now. Oops. Is that a non-weighted tangent or something? Free tangent length. Yeah. So, you know, take a look at that, the shape of those, and it's a little nicer now. And let's see if we can see the difference in here. I'll hide those curves. There still feels like a little bit of, I feel like that's slightly better, but it feels like maybe there's a little bit of acceleration on that bounce. And I'm just I'm looking at the angle of this, and it looks pretty good. Maybe that could come down a little bit. I guess it's just sort of weird at the end there. You know, I think if you ended it here, that would be a little less distracting. Anyway, it's slightly bad. There still seems to be some slight change of acceleration in there, but it's, you know, this is, I'm just nitpicking. This is mostly really good. I'm gonna just check on the stream to see if it appears to be working. It does. Okay, so next up we've got Melissa, and here we go. Oops, let's close this first. Okay, yeah, I think this is good. I would just say you'll want to tone down the stretch, the squash and stretch, particularly on that first bounce. I mean, it gives it a kind of a certain appealing character, so I don't really mind it. But if you did want to do that, you could go into Maya and I don't see it here. Oh, it's because I didn't unzip it. Okay, my bad. Okay, so it's in there. All right. So we could just take a look at that, for example, and you could just sort of scale these down. Let's just look at X and Y. I think I might need to do them one at a time. But shift middle mouse drag and scale those down. And then repeat here. You know, R for scale, and then did that take? Oh yeah, it did. Oops. Something like that, and let's. Might have gone too far, actually. Yeah, I took out too much of the squash and stretch. Yeah, it's mostly this one that I think maybe I can just, instead of trying to be all fancy and scaling it down, I might just do that. So you still have some stretch there, but it's just not quite as extreme. But yeah, really good. Next up is Coby. Let's just check that this is still working. It seems to be. Okay. And so this one's looking a little funny. I think there's a problem with the Y translate curve. And maybe the X as well. So let's take a look in Maya. Yeah, there's definitely some weird acceleration stuff happening, so let's take a look. Let's start with that Y translate curve, and it's actually not too bad. Just kind of might flatten that and scale. Oops. That's a little distracting, that thing. Just kind of rounding these out a little bit and making sure these excuse me. Just shift middle mouse drag on those. Okay, getting a little bit of a nicer shape, I think, to those. Let's see if that looks any different. Not much. I don't even know if that's any better. But let's take a look at the X. Or would that be Z? Oh, sorry, translate. Yeah, I think what's really getting you is this kind of slow in, slow out on that. Actually, if we just make this linear, I think that's going to go a long way to fixing that. Yeah, that's already much better. I think that was your biggest problem right there, is that you had that kind of Bezier slow in, slow out thing. Actually, besides that, it's fine. So that would really be where your one main fix for those. Okay, next up is Chang. I just want to check that this is still recording. Seems to be. Okay. Yeah, this looks really problematic. And if I remember correctly, I think you did not use the proper rig for this. So I can see that this is just a regular sphere without the controls, and so yeah, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to get. I mean, it's certainly possible to do the animation without the rig, but you know, one thing you have here is if it's gonna, first of all, it's not really stretching as it goes down, but then when it squashes, it actually looks like a smaller ball. So as much as it flattens out, it should also widen. And in your case, you can see the scale in x and z remains the same. So if it was gonna squash this much, you know, it has to go out that way as well. So it looks like the same volume of the ball. But the main thing you need to do is, if you look at the assignment here, right here actually is the file, and I believe I've linked that for you in the discussion. Right here as well. So yeah, you need to use that file. So this is not right, and it is possible to do it with a regular sphere, but the way you've done it isn't correct. The biggest thing being the ball not maintaining its volume, but also if we look at the graph editor, like for example the Y translate curve, you don't have a nice smooth in, smooth out. And, you know, what I would do is take out all of these. Oops. And these, whoops, are these broken? They're not even broken. They need to be broken at the bottom there, which is this button, and then you need to pull those up. Middle mouse dragging to do that. It is actually possible to do all three at the same time. And if you want, you can free the tangent weight. Which is it? This one? Free tangent. Oh. Free tangent length. Oh, I have to change it to tangents. Yeah, weighted tangents, and then I can round those out on top a little bit. I'm just selecting in the middle mouse dragging. Alright, so let's take a look now. It's still not much better, but because there's other major problems here, I think this would be one of them. Let's make that linear. Yeah, and the squash and stretch at this point is just distracting, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Where's delete selected? Right there. It still looks really wrong. Anyway, but you need to use the ball rig. So yeah. Next up is Donald. Okay, yeah, I like the basketball thing. think maybe you went a little bit too far with the squash and stretch on that first bounce. But yeah, it's got a lot of character to it. Let's take a look in Maya. Okay. Oh, you did a lot of... I was wondering why this was struggling. Just going to delete history off that. Because, oh, that freaked it out. Can I delete non-deformer history? Nope. Okay. Yeah, all that is slowing it down a little bit. Okay. Seems to move on those contact frames, and you don't want it to move on a contact frame, so that's one little fix. And then, yeah, maybe toning down the squash and stretch. And then let's take a look at the forward momentum on this thing. That's the deform. So move. Yeah, I think the Y translate curves need a little attention too. Oops. Oh, that's freaking out. Okay, there we go. Yeah, those should be angled up. Because you can see how it curves at the bottom there. Can we see that better with all those in there? See how that? See that? That should be angled up, not like a slow end. So you need to fix all of those, and that'll improve the animation a bunch. And maybe not quite so flat on the top too. Maybe reduce the amount of scaling on those. It seems like it's too much. And yeah, you need to pull these up. So I fixed the first few bounces. Let's just take a look. I'm just going to hide the... Wow, it's still slow because of all that history on the ball. Anyway, hopefully you got the idea. But yeah, nice going the extra mile with a basketball and all that, the texture. Next up is, just want to check this. Looks like it's still working. Okay, Cody. Yeah, it looks really good. I would just again maybe check on that forward momentum a little bit. It looked a little uneven. Yeah, you can tell by the shape of this curve. See how, look at the speed of that, and then you just want these all to be sort of in parallel, so just shift middle mouse, dragging that, and then maybe taking all these and something like that. Does that look a little straighter? this one is a little steeper. Is that better? That looks more even. Yeah. So that's just one thing to fix, but yeah, overall that's looking really good. Next is Elias. Yeah, it's interesting how everybody can do the same thing, but everybody's ball has a slightly different character to it. Yeah, I don't know if there's much I'd change about this. I think it looks alright. I mean, it slows down a lot, and I guess if you're going to slow down to a stop, you know, obviously it should be touching the ground and not do it in midair. So that would be the one, you know, area for improvement, I would say. But other than that, it's looking good. Okay, next up is Griffin. Yeah, it's got a slightly more realistic look, a little less cartoony. I think the first bounce has a significant amount of squash and stretch, but then you toned it down quite a bit for the subsequent ones. But yeah, I think that looks really good. I don't really have any areas for improvement on that. Next up is Megan. Yeah, that one looks really good as well. I don't really know how I would improve that, so yeah, good job on that. Okay, next up is Dewey. Lots of spin on this one. Looks kind of fun. Let's take a look at Maya, because it's a little bit hard to tell for me what's really going on there with all the squash and stretch, just because of the camera angle choice mostly. Yeah, the spin is a little distracting to see. But yeah, I think it looks good. It's pretty appealing. Looks good. Yeah, I don't really have any changes on that. Might try a different camera angle just so we can see the movement a little bit better. And then finally, Angela. Yeah, it looks really good. Might just check the forward momentum on that one. It does seem to speed up in that middle bounce. Whoops. Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's the squash and stretch. So, oh, I have the wrong control selected, I think. Ball to form. I'm gonna go up one. We want the ball move control. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I can see in this sort of unevenness. We kind of want this to be one big straight line, so might just slow it down a little bit to try and match each other. Something a little bit more like that. Cool. Yeah, looks good. Nice work. Alright, well, good job on this one, everybody.